Everyone for coming. Many of you know me. I'm John Sangiovanni, Program Manager for Mobile Computing and Wireless Collaborations here at MSR. And there's been a lot of interest in Windows Mobile Magneto, the next version, which is a significant upgrade. And most relevant to this community has a lot of new features and APIs that are relevant to research prototyping and some of the projects that are alive and well around the halls of MSR. Also, our academic collaborators are really excited about Magneto as well. So I thought it was time for us to do an overview of some of the new features that are relevant to academic research and kind of frame Magneto, why it's an essential chip in the Windows Mobile family. And then we're actually going to make this a very interactive session. So one of the nice opportunities that the Windows Mobile team has actually come here in force together with representatives from the .NET Compact Framework team so that we can make this very interactive and there will be a nice dialogue after the talk. So I think Larry's going to overview a variety of slides and kind of talk about the positioning of the product and then do a technical dive into some of the key features that might be particularly interesting to this community. And then after that we should have plenty of time for question and answer so that you can ask specific questions about the platform that are relevant to your team or to your project. Larry Lieberman is Program Manager over in Windows Mobile. He's been in various different teams throughout Microsoft for the past 7 years, and we're really excited to have him and also other colleagues from Windows Mobile here for us today. Please join me in welcoming him.
Thanks. As John said, I'm Larry Lieberman, and I'd like to make this as interactive a session as possible. I'm going to go over some of the basic features of the next version of Windows Mobile, which was codenamed Magneto and will be called Windows Mobile version 5. We also have some folks from .NET Compact Framework and Visual Studio, as well as from the Mobile Devices Division as well, to answer some of your questions as we go along. Before I start, though, I just wanted to ask folks, how many of you have already written applications for Magneto? We have had some stuff out for a while, so I see one. Okay. How many of you have used Visual Studio Widby? Another 2. Okay. So some of the features I'm going to be showing are things that are new to the actual Visual Studio part of the platform, the Visual Studio for Devices team. They've got a team over there. We have someone from their team and who's here today to talk about that. We'll introduce him later on. But some of the features I'll show have to do with the actual tools environment. Some of them have to do with the platform itself, the APIs that we expose in Windows Mobile. So we're going to do a little bit of both today. So here's an overview of basically just what I'm going to talk about, and I'll skip through this pretty quickly here. Just a brief background on what Windows Mobile is and the business model and you know, how we progress from release to release. Some details on the platform itself. Then I'm going to show some actual demonstrations of working code right now in Windows Mobile. We've done a lot of work to make it as easy as possible. This is something that people who are doing prototypes might really like, the fact that we've made it very, very simple to write initial applications. Prototyping a UI becomes as easy as doing WinForms, for example. Then I'll finish up with a roadmap about where we are going to move going forward in terms of what our thinking is today. So when I say developer platform, what I'm talking about is the end-to-end experience for developers. And so I just want to clarify that. This is what I was talking about earlier, being the tool set, the SDKs, the APIs we expose, and the sample code that we release. We want to have a developer platform. We have a tool in the Windows Mobile division where we focus, we have a team, the developer experience team, focused specifically on this question end-to-end. And it touches a lot of different groups. So as you know, being Microsoft employees, there's a lot of challenges working with other groups and managing the fact that we're on different timetables and have different deliverables. So the mission of our group is to coordinate that towards making the ISV developers' experience as positive as possible so that when thinking about Windows Mobile, they have a very warm, rosy glow about programming applications for Windows Mobile as opposed to going with something else. So the business model is a little bit more complicated than many of the other products that Microsoft produces. We don't sell Windows Mobile to end users. We sell it to a third party, like an OEM or an operator. And they, in turn, are the ones who own that specific relationship with the end user. And so this has an impact on the developer experience because we don't necessarily get to release patches to our operating system. We don't necessarily get to control the security model on the device. We give operators and OEMs a set of options and they choose how to move forward with that. We are doing some work to change the underlying infrastructure to allow us a greater degree of flexibility in this area. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So these are some slides that our lead, John Pulsifer, wanted me to put in here about customer touch. Essentially, most groups want to have customers as close as possible. And I think that's sort of what this is trying to represent graphically. When in reality, the Windows Mobile experience, we are abstracted away from our customers because of these OEMs and operators. So that was it for the humor in this presentation. Having gotten that out of the way, we can move on to talk a little bit more substantively about Windows Mobile as a platform. So if you look at the history and where we've been, I believe the first Pocket PCs were released around 2000, running on top of Windows CE 3.0, and you wrote applications with EVC3, or if you wanted to write a VB app, you used EVB3. And those were both IDEs that were based on Visual Studio 5, I believe, and they were handed out free. And the platform was pretty minimal in terms of what kinds of class libraries we exposed for people to write to. MFC 3.0, Win32, and we also had a little bit of POOM, which stands for the Pocket Outlook Object Model. So as we progressed through the years, you'll see that there's been a continuing focus on creating a better development experience and a richer set of capabilities. And now we're getting to the point with the next release, Magneto, where we're moving to one single developer tool, Visual Studio 2005, a new rich ARM emulator experience, which I'm going to demonstrate in a little bit here. And the ARM-based emulator is important because it allows you to create applications on your desktop machine and then actually be able to ship those later on without having to recompile them for a different processor, since it's actually emulating the ARM processor set. There's some other interesting things about it as well, which I'll be demonstrating. And then additionally, I also wanted to mention here that in Windows Mobile version 5, we are providing a lot of opportunity with regard to different types of class libraries. So you can use ATL and MFC 8.0, which are shipping with Visual Studio WIDBE. You can use .NET Compact Framework 2.0. You can use SQL Mobile. You can use D3D and DDraw. We're actually making those libraries available through the underlying operating system, Windows CE. And this is a point release above Macallan, which released earlier. This is 5.01, and it's what they're actually done now with 5.01, and we're using that as the base for this release. So without any further ado then, I'm going to drill into the platform a little bit more here and give you some details on the actual APIs. So this is just an attempt to diagram the tools at the top, and at the very bottom you've got device hardware and the radio layer. Windows Mobile itself consists of Windows CE. We've got a new version of Windows CE, as I mentioned before, and SQL Mobile, ActiveSync. These are all things that are being delivered as part of the underlying Windows Mobile infrastructure. Outlook, the name for Outlook has changed to Outlook Mobile, so that's caused a lot of interest, and I just wanted to point that out here. Internet Explorer is now Internet Explorer Mobile as opposed to Pocket Internet Explorer. Now at the API level, we have some new APIs around device management. We have a notifications broker. This is a new centralized repository for our actual, all of the state information on the device. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. I'm actually not going to drill in too far here. I just wanted to give you a broad overview of, if you look, the orange items are the items that are new in this release. And I don't want to speak too much to this right here because I'm going to drill into it a little bit more. So this is a slide that is showing how we've improved the setup situation for the developer. There were many tools before, and we're moving to a situation where there are only a few tools that are required. Part of this was exacerbated by the Windows 2003 second edition, Windows Mobile 2003 second edition release. We didn't do a full SDK for that, and yet there were new APIs that were required in order to deal with new device capabilities like 640 by 480 Pocket PCs and square screen and real-time landscape portrait rotation. So those required us to release a developer resource kit, so now you have extra pieces that had to go out, and this is part of the challenge we have in this group, is managing the potential for platform fragmentation. So as a result of that release, we ended up with a lot of different pieces that a developer would have to install if they wanted to target all of the different types of functionality that we were providing. So we're hoping to get back to a more simple place with Windows Mobile 5. You install Visual Studio, you install ActiveSync if you want to target an actual device, and then you install the SDK. And the SDK has to be a separate install. The whole purpose for the SDK is just to extend Visual Studio to give you the ability to target this new platform. So we basically package up all of the headers and libraries and the reference assemblies for managed programming and the emulator images. So you get an emulator image for the ARM emulator in the package, and those are full running images of Windows Mobile 2005. So it's actually, you're getting several different copies of the OS itself when you install the SDK. In the Photon timeframe, we very likely will be moving away from having a separate Pocket PC and smartphone SDK to one release. And this is one of the themes. This is in concert with one of the themes that Windows Mobile in general is moving towards having a more centralized platform where, at least in terms of how we expose this to externals, so that an external developer can look at Windows Mobile and say, I'm going to target this base layer, and it will be available for every type of device that's available right now. So that's where we want to get to. That's one of our driving principles right now. So the tools themselves have a lot of new features. We've got a high fidelity design experience. What I mean by that is there are visual design tools in WIDBE now that are going to give you a much better idea of exactly how your application is going to look like when you run it, as opposed to previously you didn't have the ability to tie events to hardware keys, for example, directly in the Visual Designer. Now you do, and I'm going to be demonstrating that, so I won't go in too far. We have a new ARM emulator engine that has ActiveSync functionality. We've got a command shell that allows you to control that ARM emulator engine. You can start it up, you can save states, you can have multiple save states, which is very nice. And we also have a new managed and native debugger, which was written from the ground up. And we have someone here from Visual Studio who can speak about that more, if there are any questions. We've also ported the remote tools from Windows CE. I don't know if any of you are familiar with those. These are tools like a remote registry viewer, remote file viewer, remote process explorer. So you can actually attach to a device, either running in the ARM emulator or running a physical device, and show real-time the processes that are running on that device. So these are very useful for developing applications. Now, in the platform itself, here's some detail on the exact things that we're doing. We've got a new centralized repository for state and notification information. This is it's also been called internally Stat Store. Some of our marketing literature calls it Notifications Broker. I think there's still some decision-making going on about what it's actually going to be called. But basically, this means that you can go to this one location and access any information you need about what the state is of that device. Do I have fast connectivity? Do I have a powerful battery? Do I have a weak signal strength? What type of signal do I have? All of that information is going to be stored and tracked in one location. So, you know, what are the capabilities of the device? Device capabilities included, Robert? Mm-hmm. Our device Robert is from the, actually wrote the spec.
Yeah, so there's certain device capabilities, like whether there's a keyboard attached or a camera or Bluetooth.
Right. So one of the potential ways you could use this is if you wanted to have a certain application run every time you plugged a barcode scanner in. And you could detect whether or not that driver had loaded and launch an application based on that event. There's a number of different scenarios like that. So OM is basically what we're calling POOM right now, since we don't have a better acronym for the Outlook Mobile Object Model. Basically, we've got a new version in native, which is much faster, and we have a managed wrapper, which allows you to very, very easily access contacts and contact information, message information. Do you have a question?
Yeah, on the state notification broker, is that going to allow for any sort of chains? Because currently, like for instance, in the current OS, I can't. If I try and get notification when a SMS message comes in,
right,
then nothing will ever show up in the inbox. because I've taken that notification away from the inbox.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I want to be able to do things like pick up an SMS message, see that it's the one I'm interested in, take it out of the queue, but let everything else pass
Yeah,
through.
so we support that now. I believe we supported that before, but we support that now.
You certainly don't in 2002. I can't.
Okay.
Okay.
I know we definitely do for Magneto.
Yeah, in fact, and we have other ways of handling that. In Magneto, we have a managed wrapper for MAPI. I think, is that where it is, Jason? Or is it in the managed POOM as well, has an SMS object for sending an SMS?
Yeah, right.
So you can intercept SMS messages with our managed wrapper for messaging and for MAPI. And it's a basic 3 or 4 line operation to actually just say, I want to intercept this SMS message, and furthermore, I want it to show up in the inbox, or I don't want it to show up in the inbox. So you can do more complex things like that very easily in Magneto now.
That sort of brings up the second question. If you're not ready to answer, just say so, we'll get it later.
You see, you're talking a lot about the managed wrappers, and are you moving away from like the Win32 experience? I mean, all the code I've written for the smartphone so far has been all Win32, and the tool set seems to have huge gaping holes in it, even in Whitby for Win32 development. It almost feels like it's not something you want anybody to be doing.
I would say that we are, we definitely are not, while we are embracing managed development, we, at the same time, I think there's a very strong effort not to forget the native developer. And sometimes we succeed at that effort, and sometimes we aren't as successful as we'd like to be. So the program manager I have here from Visual Studio, Nishan.
Could I add to that real quick? Sorry.
Please do.
Nishan and I have already had this conversation.
Okay.
The main reason for the holes is really more to do with the fact that because we're integrating native device development into Visual Studio for the first time, this release there were just some problems we couldn't tackle, like the resource editor.
Yeah,
holes
that's the main one. I'm just
Ron's
wondering,
given us
because this is the
feedback on
third version of tools for this set, and yet you still can't edit a menu.
Right. Yeah.
For smartphone.
Yeah.
And
We've
it's silly.
It's really more not effective us just trying to plug in all that stuff for this release and just not having the time.
Sure.
So there is a concentration towards the .NET development, because somewhere you had to draw that line and say we're going to get the .NET experience to work.
The .NET
but
development experience is in its second iteration now, right, in Visual Studio, because for Everett we brought it in for the first time, and this release we kind of ironed out a lot more problems. I can tell you now that for the native development experience is still really, it's still a high priority, and even just if you look at market share, it's still, we'd be silly to just turn it out.
We aren't abandoning it by any means. I think the focus has been on embracing .NET and trying to drive enterprise developers who use .NET. But at the same, I think we really have a strong concern to not abandon native development.
On the tool side, Nishan explained that. On the API side, all of the new things that we've added for managed developers in Magneto, there are the wrappers around existing native APIs or the wrappers around new native APIs. So we don't have anything specifically managed. So if Larry talked about something being great for managed, it's even more powerful on the native side.
Right.
Yes, virtually everything that we have a managed wrapper for, I believe, has been enhanced on the native side as well. So as Robert was saying, we don't have anything on the managed side that is only on the managed side.
Okay.
And to be totally clear, I mean, the strong majority of our device development right now on both smartphone and Pocket PC clearly is native, right? And we're not, as Larry said, we're not moving away from that at all. We want to grow the audience overall and bring more people into managed, but you're always going to have entertainment and other applications that are very performance focused. That
Twitch gaming.
Twitch gaming, which is a big market. So.
Well, we have Mark Prentice from the NetCF team, and he might want to rebut that. I don't know if Mark, if you have anything you want to add about managed outweighing native or.
Well, certainly managed lessens your development time. I don't really know what you're looking for.
We'll get to some demonstrations, and I'll show you some of the stuff that you can do with the managed environment right now. To continue, though, MAPI managed, that's the messaging API. TAPI, we have a managed wrapper for TAPI. Right now, it consists of a single entry, which is making a phone call, so I don't want to make too much out of our managed wrapper for that, although except to say that it's there. We expect to do more with that in the future. We have managed and native interfaces for the configuration manager. This is DM process config for those of you familiar with the actual API. So we have a new picture picker control. This is a native and managed control. It mirrors our select contact control, which I listed earlier there, for giving a developer access to a pre-built set of objects that we use in our interface ourselves. So if you're on a device that has a camera, we have a camera object that is part of a picture picker interface, and you can go in and actually use that for yourself if you wanted to. We have a new DirectX port to the underlying operating system. So this includes managed wrappers for D3D mobile. Mark, am I accurate there on ddraw and dshow? Are those wrapped as well?
Yes, ddraw. Oh, no, just D3D.
Okay. So yeah, the only one that has a managed wrapper is D3D. That's an accuracy. We have a unified installation model. So you only have to build one type of cab now. This is a really big win. And we have a uniform security model against both Pocket PC and smartphone. While this adds a new layer of complexity for Pocket PC developers, we think that the long-term story here is a net win in that we're unifying the platform in a very important way. And if OEMs intend to release Pocket PC devices with higher level security involved, people will be prepared in that we've given them this information for some time with regard to smartphone. Yes?
So I had a question on number 2, the Pung thing.
Yes.
Will you be able to insert a custom GUID into a record?
Custom GUID. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
So is that a reserved GUID for a particular application, or is that going to be stopped by any other application that decides to use that field?
We call them named properties. So for any item in Pocket Outlook, you can add any number of custom properties and set them to whatever data type you want.
So custom property was now something you can party.
Yeah, they don't sync.
They don't sync. So that's that. But we have custom properties. So
Are we going to address that later on when working with the Exchange team? Yeah. Yeah. I know that we've been doing a lot of work with the Exchange team. I know we have server sync for tasks and for pictures on contacts. So there has been some work in the past on this area. It comes from the product side, the feature team side. So we'll find out. We can get, if you give us your information, we can get more information on that for you.
we've actually been working with the Exchange team for a while about getting into Protocol 2.5 for Exchange.
Okay.
Those custom properties are actually synced to Exchange or persist throughout the system. Yeah.
Great. Any more questions on this? Yes.
I wonder if the Drupal support, is that the same as the Drupal on the PC?
I believe it's a subset.
Subset?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what's in there, what's not in there?
We actually have some pretty good docs already together on this. I don't have them. If you give me your information, I can send you a link and to what we've got in terms of documentation, which may be able to answer that question for you. Because personally, I don't know off the top of my head. Okay. Any more questions on this slide? There'll be plenty more time for questions. So why don't I move ahead? So here's a slide, the first of a couple slides on the .NET Compact Framework in terms of what we're adding here. Enhanced performance. There's a unified JIT engine. We're moving towards getting to a unified process model, I believe, in 3. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, there's been investigation in that area.
Right. Improved string handling and new XML classes that are much higher in performance. XML serializer is better, I believe, substantially better. COM interop is a big win. And so basically, COM interop provides a really great migration story in terms of existing applications like VB apps that were written, because most of those were written as COM objects, and people are able to piece them together into new apps using this functionality.
Excuse me, do you have any performance metrics for CMC?
I do not, but I'm sure the NetCF team does.
We track there. My email is mark3, APRE. If you're looking for specific metrics, just send me some mail and I'll probably write that.
New language features. These are new to the desktop as well, but I think they're now being embraced back into the Compact Framework. Generics, anonymous methods, and partial classes. And the managed wrappers for D3D. Quite a few new UI controls. So a date time picker, month calendar, these have been available for a while on the desktop. I think some of them are just new to the device. But as we get closer to having greater parity between desktop and device, we are increasing the ability of people to migrate from one to the other. And of course, full compatibility with V1. So you can run side by side. A lot of focus on that from Pat in terms of having V1 assemblies run against the V2 engine. CE50, what's new here? We have a new image update file system. Some of you may be familiar with this. This is actually quite a big win for Microsoft. As we move forward and attempt to help our partners, our OEM and operator partners, provide customers updates to the operating system as they become available, the image update file system provides an easier way for us to package those updates and distribute them over the air or via connection, direct connection. So we're working in tandem with operators and OEMs very closely, and I'm sure this is something we'll really want to follow because we want to be able to give people the ability to potentially purchase an upgrade to a device-based operating system that an OEM's released, as opposed to having to buy a new $500, $1,000 device every 6 months. So this is something, a ton of work went into this over a couple of years. We're seeing it now in this version of Windows CE, which is going to be in the basis of Magneto. So I think there's going to be a lot more talk about that at the device conference coming up. So we have new versions of some of the server redistributables too. We've got a new one called PeerNet, which is focused on peer-to-peer networking. And we've got a new version of the web server, HTTPD, MSMQ client. There are also managed wrappers for the MSMQ client. And UPnP, a couple of different UPnP pieces. We also have a new driver API. This is very minimal. This is really just a layer of abstraction on top of the COM port, essentially, so that your application can specify to speak to a specific COM port. Instead of having to say, I'm going to this COM port, you can just specify the GPS driver, and it will redirect you as appropriate based on however you've configured the device. So I think this was specifically done for a particular vendor. Okay, so I'm basically going to go in here and show you how a few of these different classes are implemented. But before I do that, I just want to show you a little bit about Visual Studio in terms of some of the new functionality for device development. Once you've installed Visual Studio and the SDKs, you get new entries. The SDKs actually extend Visual Studio to provide you the ability to target the new versions of Windows Mobile. So this is done through the Smart Device node in the project type dialog. If you open that up, you'll see here you can create a project targeting any number of different kinds of devices. These are all corresponding to different versions of Windows Mobile. So for Windows Mobile, right now these say Magneto. They will be changed to say Windows Mobile 5.0 once the name is official. So after you've selected that, now obviously I'm looking at managed projects here. The managed projects are under Visual Basic and C#. The native projects are under C++. And native, it works a little bit differently. You select Smart Device, and here you get the option of creating a project with a wizard for ATL, for MFC, or for Win32. So I'm going to go in here and just actually create a Pocket PC Magneto Smart Device. And you'll see here there's a couple of different types of projects available. There's a device application project, a control library, an empty project, and then we also have projects targeting Framework 1.0. So this gives you the ability to say, I want to write a 2.0 app or I want to write a 1.0 app. And there may be several reasons that you want to do that based on who your audience is for this application. If you're releasing an application to an audience that, and you can't afford to distribute the runtime with your application for whatever reason, you may want to target a 1.0 library and take the hit in terms of being able to have a smaller set of functionality and the older version of the runtime. So if I decide to create a 2.0 version of a device application, I can just go in here and select OK, and it will automatically generate, just like the projects do today, all of the files necessary to actually run an application. but you'll see a higher fidelity design experience here. We're actually we're hosting the skin inside the designer, and that does a couple of things. One thing that it does is it gives you the ability to actually tie events to hardware buttons. So you can actually click on the button on the device and tie event directly up to that hardware button. The other thing that it allows you to do is it allows you to take your application and change the form factor on the fly. So I could actually say, what would this look like if I was running it on a smartphone? Or actually, why don't you pretend I just said on a square screen? And your actual application in place will change to a square screen. The other thing you can do right now is you can actually host both a Pocket PC and a smartphone application in the same solution. And so this is really good for when you wanted to write an application that can run on either smartphone or Pocket PC, for example. And so I can add a new project, and I can say I want a new device application, just like that. Actually, picked the wrong one. Let's do it again and host a third. Let's host a third app. I'm going to actually smartphone Magneto device application, and you'll see there I have my smartphone application, and I can actually take those two skins and I can create a new tab group, and you can host them side by side and work on forms in either one. So we think this is a really big boon for productivity. If I came in here, say I had a form on one, and say I'm working on my Pocket PC, and I have a, let's see, I have a combo box here. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that, well, combo box is supported on Pocket PC. It's not supported on smartphone. What's that? Use a button? Yeah, a button is a great example. So now, there's something else I wanted to show you about this designer, is that we now have graphical cues to help you with sizing and placement. And we also have another feature called docking and anchoring, which I want to show you, where we actually allow you to create a, we allow you to dock the control to the form such that if that device is rotated, the control maintains its association with the side that you docked it to. So say I want to dock, I dock the control to the top, I dock that combo button box to the top, and say I dock the button to the bottom. You'll notice what this does is it solves the problem of the person rotating the device on the fly, because when you rotate the device on the fly, if you hadn't done that, you would have a situation where, I have to select the form here. Okay. Okay, there we go. So rotate left, and you'll see that no matter how I rotate it, the design surface allows me to actually maintain, since I've used that dock property, it can change that, it stays associated with the appropriate side. So if I undock that button, let's see if I can do that here.
Question?
Yes?
So I may be a little behind here, but this is, you're saying this is associated with behavior in the form code that's connected to a rotation sensor in the device?
No, actually this feature is a functionality associated with Compact Framework 2. So Compact Framework 2 allows you to have the property docked.
Okay, but in terms of the rotation here, presumably, are you connecting this to the fact that that you can convert to landscape mode or portrait mode in the device?
Yes,
okay.
It's an underlying OS capability since Windows Mobile's 2003 second edition.
Okay,
so.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, and if I had not docked that button, what you would see, if I can actually undock it here, is that you would have lost visibility on it, and it would actually exist below. Now you can also create a property on the form saying auto scroll on as necessary, so that it would provide scrolling down to that control. But what we've done here is given people the ability to circumvent that by using a docking functionality. So those are some of the, well, actually the other thing I wanted to show was that you can actually take this form that I've drawn on the Pocket PC and copy it over to, so I'm here on Form 1 of, let me just click that. You can actually copy the form over to the other project, and the problem is the name. And let's rename that. And back to Solution Explorer. I can drag the form over to the other project. And I believe the smartphone is in Project 4. And nope. Now let's do this. Let's drag the control over. And if I try to drag, if I copy the button control and try to paste it over here, which is very silly, but you can see here I get what's called an unsupported control. And what this means is that you can actually take applications that you've written for one form factor and convert them over to another on the fly. And you get hints like this tab here which says convert it to a text box or a menu item, saying that those are the two types of controls that it thinks are the most closely related in functionality and appearance. And this is part of the functionality in WIDBE that allows you to do that sort of thing. So automatically, on the fly, converting to a supported form type. So let's see. The next thing I wanted to show. Any questions so far? So folks haven't really used WIDBE here, have we? Okay. Let me actually show you the emulator now. So if I compile, let me close this solution. So we have a new ARM-based emulator. And the beauty of this is the ability to write applications once and have them run just like they will on a device. And here you see it came up pretty fast. That's because we ship with a saved state. And it connected successfully there. So once it's connected, I can actually go in, compile my project, and deploy. And so this is actually compiling the project, and let's deploy. Let's actually just do what most people do, which is equivalent to an F5. And when you hit F5, you actually get the choice of where you want to deploy it to. You can actually turn off the prompting, and you'll see here it's deploying now. Now, since this emulator image doesn't have Compact Framework 2 on it, you'll see the first thing it's doing here is deploying the runtime. So this will give you an idea about how, essentially how this proceeds.
Will Magneto devices have Compact Framework 2 on the ROM?
That's an excellent question. Unfortunately, we were unable to align schedules appropriately to accomplish that. But you're still able to take advantage of it. It still runs very well on both Pocket PC and smartphone.
Is it an optional feature for OEMs later?
That's possible.
It's very possible.
What's the footprint?
Which one? 2.0?
No, yes.
It's under 2.5.
It's under 2.5 meg and it's raw.
Yeah.
As a download though, it takes more space because it can't be compressed.
Yes, correct. It's not compressed.
So it would be more like
5.5.
Okay.
So there's my application running in the emulator. Very unexciting application, but just to give you an idea of how that works. And at this point, you can actually go and do things in the immediate window, view the output of the different operations that took place as part of the debug, check on the local variable status. So let's go in and stop that. Now I want to show you a little bit of the managed class libraries that we've got in Magneto.
For the emulator, is it easy for someone to just launch an emulator if they're not writing code?
Great question. Let me show you. There's two answers to that. Right now in Visual Studio, we do have this add-in, the Device Emulator Manager. And what that does is it actually shows you in a tree view every single emulator configuration that's on the machine. This was installed with the device emulator. The device emulator has its own MSI package, an MSM. And it's actually, there's a lot of talk about distributing this externally for a whole variety of reasons, and I'm not sure exactly what all of those are. The Visual Studio team is driving that right now. So if you'll look here in this list, you'll see that there's a little green arrow next to Windows Mobile 5.0 Smartphone Emulator, indicating that it's running right now. And I can right-click on that, and I get a lot of different options. I get Cradle, Shut Down, Reset, Clear Save State, or Bring to Front. So I can actually say Cradle, and what that does is it actually, I've got a real device connected right now, but it will come in, and let me just make sure that direct memory access is available as a connectivity method, and it detects the device and it's connecting to the emulator as though it were a device. So you may not be, that wasn't necessarily as clear as it could be. I'm not going to go through this partnership, so I'll just attach as guest. So what I'm actually showing you here is ActiveSync connected to my emulator as though it were a real device. This can be quite useful for all sorts of scenarios, like making sure you get actually populating the data onto the device for a variety of reasons. And you can actually just click on Explore, and at that state, you're looking at the file system on the emulator. So this is quite an improvement upon where it was before. Yes?
I suppose the application has access to the audio and the video. Does the emulator still work, or where does it get data?
Audio, it depends on the emulator driver itself. I think on the Pocket PC we have audio. Jason, do you?
Yeah, we have audio out. I'm not sure about audio in.
What do you mean audio? Audio out? You mean like there's no audio in, you couldn't play audio, is what you mean?
Yeah, you can definitely play audio. I'm not sure if there's a microphone driver.
Right, so these are things that, I mean, depending on, there's a lot of room to grow in this space. What we've got here is it's essentially a implementation of the platform for this particular ARM emulator, and we could extend that with drivers as appropriate. And if we wanted, if there was demand for an audio input driver, that could be something that we could provide in the future point.
And because it's an ARM emulator, that means that if, for example, say a student developer who doesn't have a physical device but wants to install a commercial app or something like that, could literally buy an app off the Fandango and install it to the emulator.
Yes. We're using it for app compat right now. So it's been a long time coming, and we've done a lot of work on this in the last year, but I think that it's going to be very successful. So let me also show you here, this is just a pretty average computer, and I can actually launch quite a few instances of the emulator on the device, on the actual computer. So here's a Pocket PC, and we also support rotation, just like on the device, and we rotate the skin in the opposite direction so that you don't have to twist your head. But otherwise, these are actual versions of the operating system. We ship them with the SDK, and once you've installed them, you can use them as a actual proxy device for running your application. Okay, I wanted to show, so you can save state as well, or you can shut them down from the, you can uncradle and shut down right from the device emulator manager. So this manager tool is actually quite useful, and this just is echoing what's in our CoreCon data store. That's the actual object that stores the information about all of the different types of devices that you could write applications for right now. Let's go back to Visual Studio. And the next thing I'd like to show, here it is. So we have a camera object. We have a camera. So this is an application. This is just from our sample code, straight from the SDK. We actually have done quite a good job of enhancing and extending the sample code that we ship in the SDK to appropriately reflect the APIs that are available in the operating system. We've done a lot of work. Jason is our lead dev, and he and his team have been working really hard on this just recently. So this is a piece of sample code that is demonstrating the functionality. Most of this is just boilerplate. But if you come in here, you'll see we've got a application here that, let's see, there it is. So here's a Pocket PC application. This is set up to access an object, a managed wrapper that we have to look at the camera on a device. And if you look at the code, so let's just look here on what happens on start. I can just double click on start, and that takes me to the point in the code where an event has been instantiated for the start click. So you'll see here menu start click. And here it is, camera capture dialog. That's the object. And we just packaged that up in a reference assembly. It's this Microsoft.windowsmobile.forms. We have this object. And here we've created the object, a new one. We associated it with the form. We made the form its owner. And, you know, this is literally a very, very, very small application. It just shows the basic functionality of instantiating this object, which is the camera. And I can actually, I've got a device here that has a camera. This is a Magneto device. This is a Himalaya. This was one of our dog food platforms for Magneto. And I'm just going to deploy this application here and show you how it, let's do a, got to wait till it syncs here. Now it just basically needs the connection. I'm going to have it be a guest. And let's do a start without debugging. And I'll switch over. Okay, deploy. So this prompt, I'm in prompt mode. I wanted to talk a little bit about security. We have security on Pocket PCs, but our recommended default, I believe at this time, is still that operators and OEMs ship in what we call prompt mode. If the user attempts to run an application that isn't signed with a certificate that mirrors a certificate in the root store of the device, they get prompted, by the way, this might be an untrusted application. Do you want to run it? So I haven't signed my application here, so I'm seeing this prompt. And I'm just going to click yes because I'm fast and loose with security. And you'll see here, okay. So there's the application. I mean, it starts out just by giving you some options around where you want this object stored, the picture that I'm going to, so I'm going to go in here and just say, I want it in the My Documents directory. And I'm going to call it test 1. And you don't have to give it a title. So let's just start. And you'll see here, it kicks off the camera object. And you don't see anything in it because the camera's on the back. So let me take a picture here. And Watson error. Okay. I think the problem was that I didn't put a title in. Let's do that quick. Okay. Okay, well that errored out, but I think I have a memory problem. So let me just actually do a quick reboot here, and I'll show that to you again later. The point is we're creating a couple of different objects like this that you can access very quickly, very easily. And one of them is the camera control, but we also have a select contact control. that allows you to access the list of contacts. It's the same one that we're using. So I think that there's a lot of different features and functionality that we're giving you access to that in the past you weren't able to access. So let's see, there were a few other things here that I wanted to show in the IDE itself. One has to do with security. So because security is such a big, important concern, and because we want to make it as easy as possible for people and developers to sign their applications, Visual Studio now has the ability to automatically sign its generated project output automatically as part of the build. So you go into the properties on the device, and it's actually under devices. It's not under signing as one might expect. It's under devices. And you click Authenticode signing, and you can select the certificate, and it will give you the option to pick a certificate from your store. Now, I don't have any certificates in my store that are appropriate, but I could go into the SDK and select from our tools directory a certificate and quickly install that to my root store. And so there, now I've installed it. And actually go back to Visual Studio and back here and say select certificate, and you'll see now I have that certificate available. And I can set it here, and it will automatically sign, Authenticode sign, the generated executable when I build it and deploy it to the device. Now, this test certificate has to match the root store of the device. So in the SDK, if you have a device that is open, you can provision your device with the CPF file that we include in the SDK. But you know, there's a lot of provisos here because operators and OEMs will ship devices in a lot of different states, and you may or may not be able to provision your device with an additional certificate unless the operator has given you that option. So we do foresee that we are going to be working with some of these operators to try to understand, especially in the smartphone area. We feel like this is potentially limited development for smartphone because people have to figure out how to get a device certified and provisioned appropriately, and in some cases they're not able to. So we're trying to, we have a program called Mobile to Market where we actually allow people to buy a certificate from us, the Mobile to Market certificate, and those certificates are actually in the root device of all of the smartphones, I believe, that the operators, we've worked with operators to have them include that certificate. So that's all I wanted to say about certificates. I actually want to try this one more time. The other thing I wanted to show was data. We have a lot of new data tools in Visual Studio. And I want to show that in a minute, but I want to see if I can get this to do what I expected it to do. Okay, so launched it, initial directory. Are there any questions while I do this? Yes?
I was wondering if you have the audio object or video object which captures a stream instead of like one static.
Capturing a stream of audio. So in native, obviously we have the vent sound, and do we have any ability to capture an audio stream?
In audio stream or video stream?
Either one.
You can capture a video file through the same mechanisms that you're using.
Or you could use direct show.
Or you could go directly to direct show.
That's a lot of work.
All right, let me show some of the data functionality. I think it's actually quite interesting. We'll move back to over there. So the data tools allow you to very quickly set up a database connection in an application. I'm just going to quickly go through this, and then we'll move to the Q&A. Here we go. Oh, actually, let me show you this. What we've got here is an application that accesses, that's not it. Here it is. So this is our Outlook object model. And I just quickly wanted to show what we've got here is an application that allows you to access the contacts in the database, in the contact database on the device itself, and send an SMS message, make a phone call, or edit that contact entry directly. So the way that we did this is you'll see here we've added references to two new class libraries, the Pocket Outlook class library and the Telephony class library. These are managed class libraries that ship with the SDK and are in ROM on Magneto devices. The reference assemblies are in the SDK so that you can refer to it from your Visual Studio project. So once you've added those reference assemblies, you get the ability to add Pocket Outlook objects. And I'll show you how we did this here. We actually did this, let's see, starting here when you click, for example, a new button, it's instantiating an Outlook session. And that session, we're going to add a contact item to that session. So very, very quick and easy way to access the Outlook data on the device itself. Here we're actually instantiating the contact editor dialog and created an edit window. So this allows you to actually work with that itself. And now here's the code for sending an SMS message. Basically nothing more than taking the message box data and throwing it into an Outlook session as an SMS account. And then actually instantiating the message itself with that contact information as send. So if you've ever been familiar with how this was done in native, it would require probably 50 lines of code to do this in native, the same kind of stuff. So we've vastly simplified and made more accessible this type of functionality to a group of developers who probably wouldn't have been able to do this before. And it's just to emphasize some of what we're doing. Here's the phone call object. So if they click on the call home button, it looks on the contact list and it pulls out the contact information. And from that, it creates a new phone number and we just call talk. And it's dialing the home telephone number. So these are just examples of how we've done this type of work. So do we have any questions?
Can you introduce the other product team?
I would love to. I would love to. We've got Mark Prentice. He's a program manager on the .NET Compact Framework team. Nishan, I don't know how to say your last name.
You don't, thanks, no.
Nishan J.
Shevanasam.
Yes. Nishan J from Visual Studio for devices. He's responsible for the native environment and application development for native, for C++. Jason Fuller, he's the lead dev in the developer experience team in Windows Mobile. Robert Levy is a program manager in the developer experience group. And John Pulsifer, he's the lead program manager for the developer experience team. And Chi Chu, our product unit manager for Windows Mobile. Mobile devices product group right now. And we'd love to answer any of your questions. I'd like to hear some feedback from you about what you're doing with devices and where you'd like them to go in terms of device development. Anyone? Yes?
I'm just wondering about support for, through managed code of playing MP3s and such.
Sure. So right now, MP3 functionality, the ability to play MP3s either on the device or from another application is done through Windows Media Player, I believe. We actually call into them. Is that correct, Jason?
Well, you'd use common interop to talk to the Windows Media Player.
Right, in the current version. I'm just wondering if there's any. Oh, right. So since you're supporting common interop from Compact Framework, so you have to build a wrapper, manage wrapper for it, and call that. Really like an object that you.
No.
Okay.
We don't have
But if I just make a reference, it'll make a wrapper for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's some of the beauty of common interop. but obviously still not as easy as having its own namespace. But
You can use the Windows Media Player SDK. The same SDK for the desktop includes the developer content for devices as
Yeah,
well.
I found that, but I have to say so in terms of feedback, lots of this stuff looks great. That is really underdocumented.
Yeah.
That was really hard to figure, and because you can't, you have to wrap something on the desktop and you don't know that the GUIDs are the same. I had to kind of assume that was true.
It's an area that we'll be working with them more in the future. They kind of own their SDK.
Yeah, right.
But both in terms of the content of their developer experience as well as making it more a part of our developer platform. Those are both areas that we're.
I probably value that more highly than other people do because I'm working on something related to that. But it seems important to me.
what are you working on exactly?
Working on just a podcatcher, it's called, like a little podcasting client with some other kind of cool features to take advantage of the fact that you're connected to the network.
Sure, there certainly is a lot of talk about those right now on the internet. So we do track the internet, and I'd love to see what you guys are doing with that too. What else are people working on?
When's the mobile D3D stuff going to be available?
Oh, well, let me I don't know if I was going to show that slide or not. Go
ahead. Yeah.
Okay. We have a couple of slides here that I was, so yeah, the future, I wanted to talk a little bit about the future releases. But before I do that, let me just quickly talk about the dates. We were saying Magneto's RTMing in April, and operator trials generally take around 3 months. That's my understanding. But we do have one partner on a fast track to get devices in around May. And some of the other ones are trickling in about 6 to 9 months after RTM. And so this is very fast and loose information that can change in any moment. But we did want to share it with you guys. So Magneto is the release that has DDraw, D3D, and DShow. And it's basically, it was first appeared in the Bowmore release of Windows CE, which I don't believe is being released.
Actually, it's in Macallan as well.
It's in Macallan?
Yeah.
Okay. So Macallan, Windows CE 5.0, which was released in June?
Yeah,
Last summer. I don't know if there are many devices available for it yet. So,
And any word on whose hardware acceleration is going to be supported with D3DM drivers?
yeah, Intel is working on one for the chip that's in this device right now. And in fact, we're supposed to have a build this week that has the D3D acceleration. So the OEM who's working with Dell and HTC, the company that actually makes the hardware, his name is Bob Spink, and he's been getting me current Magneto builds that they've been creating for this device. But the last news I had from Bob was that Intel is they found it a little bit more tricky than they thought, and so they're behind schedule a little bit. But we still anticipate it, like I said, this week.
There's also a very small SDK from NVIDIA with one of their chipsets that runs on Macallan, but no word on it that's going to get a device.
Right. So do we have a device that uses an NVIDIA driver, or?
We have their reference board, which is a bit like a science project, but
Yeah.
it does run.
We have a lot of science projects.
What's their science project?
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
Just a few questions on devices. So which is the OEM that's on the fast track, and when is the earliest we can get the device?
I don't know the answer to that question. I actually don't. The PM who gave me this information, Paula Tomlinson, I'd recommend you send her mail.
What was the question? Which one is?
Yeah, which OEM is on the fast track? He had one on the fast track. Someone's available, devices available in May.
Yeah, in the past couple weeks, I'm getting really doubtful about when they're going to hit May.
That's a very aggressive estimate.
But we should be getting some in around the June, July timeframe.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you should see the next generation of the Type Moon around that time.
This is the Type phone. I don't know if
I was talking about your Pocket PC.
So Universal is one of the devices trying to hit May. And you don't have one of those with you.
No, I do. I have this.
Universal is like a tablet, like a Toshiba tablet.
The regular form factor, the PPC. No. What's the earliest you expect?
Well, that one is a Puck PC.
Which one? The universal?
One
Yeah,
Universal
it's
is
small,
a
it has a twisty screen.
But it's a Puck PC size
Clamshell.
tablet PC sort of thing that has a little brown head with a QWERTY keyboard.
If you type HTC space universal into your favorite search engine, you'll get a bunch of
Yeah.
It's a clamshell, and the screen folds around.
My next question is, how many OEMs have committed to ship at least 64 meg devices? I mean, you're lower your bar to 32 meg now, right?
All of them except for 2 are 64.
Okay.
And one of the two might go to 64. Our key devices on 32. There are a bunch of other OEMs that we don't track, like smaller players, and they usually sell volumes on the order of under 10K. So they might do something, and we won't.
So if you have an app that requires a V64 max based on OP SCs, I mean, we are not going to end up with a situation where we don't have to put people with 64 meg devices, right? Magneto.
For Magneto, most devices will be 64 megs.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I should let you consume those 64 megs.
No, but today no, that brings us to the other question. On smartphones, if you run a .FCF app, right, and what is the maximum size app that you could run in?
Mark would be
32 meg smartphone.
I'm sorry.
.NET Compact Framework on a smartphone. What's the largest size amount of memory available left for the application?
Oh, on a smartphone?
Yeah.
After NetCF is installed? I don't know. I can easily find out.
Okay.
Are you using V2?
Yes.
One more question. You talked about the notification broker, but did you talk about SMS intercept or SQL Mobile? I'm not sure.
I didn't speak specifically to those two. Let me talk a little bit. SMS interception is available now through a wrapper that we've got called for messaging. So it's actually very easy. You create a rule to intercept SMS messages, and you can say, you can have a filter on that rule, so that you can say, I only want to intercept SMS messages with this prefix, or from this person, or a number of other features like that. And that's how it works. And when you intercept an SMS message, you can then perform operations based on that condition. Or you can actually say, I don't want this to go into the inbox. So you can intercept the SMS message and as well not allow it to pass through. Or you can decide to let it pass through. So you have a number of different options available to you. SQL Mobile is the next version of SQL Server CE. The currently released version is SQL Server 2.0. SQL Mobile is an improvement ahead of that. Some of the best benefits of it have to do with the things that are available in the actual tools. So we've got new tools for SQL Mobile, and I was going to show some of that. So let's start a new. I can actually demonstrate some of this. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you can very quickly create a database app that shows master and details on a database file. So it's visual designers, just like if you've done any database development on the desktop, essentially it's the same tools that are now available for writing applications for devices. So you can drag and drop a data set onto a form and it will automatically create a data grid and data connector and all the required objects. It's essentially, you can create an application that shows master and details in about 5 minutes. But I don't want to spend the 5 minutes because I want to answer questions.
When is, or how do you get the drop that has the Magneto, the would-be drop that has the Magneto support in it?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. In fact, I wanted to, so we have a contest for Magneto development going on right now. It's a little late for you guys, but because it's half over, we were giving people a month. So you'd only have 15 days. But you're researchers, so you're ahead of the game, I imagine. So anyway, there's a contest site at Devices Site SDK Web Contest that has a page that lists everything with links where to install from internally. So I just wanted to point people to that because I think it'd be great for you to install. The current builds of Woodby are very good. They're out of the Beta 2 branch now. They're almost done. They are this close to being done with Beta 2. And if we were working out of a different lab they have virtual build labs and DevDiv, and we were working out of a different build lab for quite a while, and the quality was pretty poor because of that. Now that we're in the Beta 2 branch, they've driven quality up substantially, and as a result, it's actually very comparable to working in terms of speed and performance with other versions of Visual Studio. So, I have nothing but very positive things to say about that. So yeah, we're giving away devices for that contest. We have some of these Dell Axims, and we're also going to be giving away Typhoon. It's like your choice. We're going to give away 6, and if anyone's interested, I encourage you to participate. So yes.
So you said the SDK will be a free download that you'll have to do if you already have Would-Be?
You will actually still have to do it, because Magneto, if you want to target Magneto, Visual Studio out of the box will only allow you to target Windows Mobile 2003 2nd edition. And
with the ARM emulator?
Yes. Yeah. The reason for that is twofold. One is size. The ARM emulator images are the size of a complete image, so 27 meg or so for the phone, and they're very big. They don't want to. Visual Studio doesn't want to consume that and ship it, and a lot of people don't have Magneto devices yet, obviously. So it makes less sense to ship that immediately. The second reason, though, the main reason is time frame in terms of schedule. It's just too hard to get into the Visual Studio build train at this point with a finished Magneto product. So what we've created is an SDK that's essentially an add-on to Visual Studio. It's not a true SDK in the sense of everything you need to develop in one box, compilers and so forth, because all it does is extend Visual Studio.
Do you have
Yes.
a location API?
Location API has been postponed.
But we do have a small native GPS API, but the full-blown location API.
But you wouldn't be able to do location if you had some other way of determining the location other than GPS that some
Right, we don't have.
high-speed could plug in.
Not yet. Not yet.
I thought the core problem there was just that the carriers won't ever give you access to the V911 information. Is that a different problem?
Yeah, it's a different problem.
There were several problems.
So you're saying, even assuming in the rare case that there's a carrier who will let you get that information, you don't have the support for accessing it?
Right. Right. We don't have the on-device APIs. You can still use like the MapPoint location server and their web services.
Right.
But we're going to have a rich set of APIs on the device, and that ends up getting cut.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, are there any carriers that are exposing that now?
I think there are a few. That's
What's that next
At a
list?
minimum, get the cell tower ID out of a lot of them if you know what you're doing, right, Jason?
I believe the MapPoint team is working with Sprint right now.
I don't know. There are a few that are working on it.
Right. The MapPoint team is driving the location services work because they have the Microsoft Location Server product. And we've coordinated with them a little bit in the past, but I haven't spoken to them in a while. I think.
They're driving the operator relations.
Right. Chanda, is it Chanda Thota? I don't remember the name.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.